All right, so before we officially begin in the program, we are going to do as we always do. We have ball action this week. Is going to ring the church bell. How many times, Mother Cosman? 8? 8 times. And as he does, when he gets to that last one, I want you just to sit and listen and see in your mind how long it takes for you to not hear any more of that bell ringing. So before we start with our Rectory Child Covenant, I want to just tell you that today's theme is forgiveness. We'll talk a little bit more about why that is our theme and how it all ties together with what we've been discussing. But we're going to begin, as we always do, reading our Rectory Chapel Covenant together on the front page of your leaflet. And I'll start us off, and please join in. We are each
on a sacred journey to understand who we are in the context of the wide and wonderful world we share with one another. Though our neighbors' journeys may at times seem different than our own, we honor, respect, and celebrate that each one of us is wonderfully created, each one of us is special, and each person's journey is indeed sacred.
And now, as we do every month, we're going to light our peace candle, remembering places in our world, in our lives, our personal lives, in our school, where we might want to pray for peace or hold peace kind of in our hearts and think about that. And you're going to light our candle for us. And while we do that, we're going to hear some music from Grace and James. inspirational speakers. So please enjoy each one of them today, and we will begin with our first reader.
We must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. There is some good in the worst of us and some evil in the best of us. When we discover this, we are less prone to hate our enemies. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring what has been done or putting a false label on an evil act. It means, rather, that the evil act no longer makes a barrier to the relationship. Dr. Luther King Jr.
Let us keep away from pride and enmity. Let us forget and forgive the wrong done to us. Hurry not to punish a man for a fault committed. Leave room for plotting between the two acts. The best deeds of a great man are to forgive and forget.
Before Ethan does his next reading, I have a very strange request. We have a couple things plugged into the wall, somewhere about halfway through. Some of you are sitting in a pew that has a little, if you really want to know what it is, it's a little thing that's making a high-pitched noise to keep bats out of the church. Isn't that creepy? So we forgot to turn them off. So some of you may listen for a high-pitched, I don't know if you hear it. But could you guys on the side there by the wall, look if you have something by the wall that's plugged in down by your feet? Fun fact about this church, bats come here at night. And we have to keep them away, otherwise they make a big mess on the walls. So, did everybody see what I'm talking about? Yeah? Thank you. Thank you for your help. I knew there's one over here I was told to come on. I don't see it. Oh, here it is. This little thing. Okay. All right, we will continue now. Forget about bats. We don't have any. And with Ethan's reading, we're going to read it responsorially, which means he's going to read the first line, and you're going to read what's in bold. He reads the next line, you read what's in bold. Ready?
Forgiveness is a powerful practice. If you're harmed and you choose anger or vengeance,
then you chose to respond to harm by causing more harm.
but if you choose forgiveness,
You can prevent further harm from happening.
all major religious traditions carry basically the same message.
That is love, compassion, and forgiveness.
The important thing is,
They should be part of our daily lives.
And now we're going to hear from Monica and Audrey for Luke's.
glory in the mirror because we have the mistake between our faces and the mirror. We can't see what we're capable of being. You can ask forgiveness of others, but in the end, real forgiveness is in one's own self.
Moses prayed for forgiveness by saying, "In accordance with your great love, forgive the sin of these people, just as you have pardoned them from the time they left Egypt up until now." The Lord replied, "I have forgiven them as you asked."
Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, "Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times?" Jesus answered, "I'll tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times."
Now we're going to have a little music here. It's not written in the program as such, but while Corey plays a really quiet and really beautiful guitar piece he's worked on, I want you all to think, before I share a little bit of my thoughts, I want you all to think about maybe how, those of you that answered that Google form, how you, was there a time that it was hard for you to forgive someone? Or was there a time where you just hoped someone would forgive you for something you did? Or maybe a time where you were like, I'm not going to forgive this person, I don't care how many times they ask me. I want you to think about forgiveness and what it means to you as we listen to Corey play some music. That was so good. All right. So, I hope you had some time to think a little while we was playing that wonderful piece. So, forgiveness. We've been talking a lot about kindness at Rectory, right? How many of you have made some effort on that kindness card? Raise your hands. Uh-oh. All right, we got to get to work. But let's be real. Sometimes it is not easy to be kind. Sometimes we don't make good choices. The best of us don't make good choices. People who you might think, oh, they never say a mean word to anybody. Well, guess what? We've all done it. We've all done it. We've all said something we wish we didn't say. We've all, maybe even without realizing it, harmed someone. So kindness is super important, but we have to remember sometimes we're not kind, or others are not kind to us. So I thought forgiveness was a really good way to tie that in. And as I said, especially because almost every religion that I researched in the last few months thinking about this topic has something to say about forgiveness. And it's all the same. And the additional reason why we're choosing this topic is because last week was it was the most holy holiday in the Jewish tradition called Yom Kippur. And it is the whole point of Yom Kippur is that it's a day of atonement, or it's building up to a day in which people in the Jewish faith right their wrongs, apologize to those who they may have wronged, make right with their relationship with God. And there's many other things that happen along that celebration or that reflection, and including fasting for many Jews. So I thought this was the season of atonement, the season of forgiveness and tying in nicely with kindness. So I sent many of you the Google form, and about 100 or so people answered, so thank you to those that did. Maybe you were one of them. And many of you said, I'm willing to share my little story of forgiveness. There were so many that I just decided to take snippets and give you examples of what some people described. Someone said that one time someone took blamed them for taking their computer, and when they didn't, but I forgave them and it made me feel so much better. Another person said they have a hard time forgiving because sometimes it seems like people are asking for forgiveness, but they lack honesty. Has that ever happened to anybody? Someone's saying, I'm sorry, because the teacher told them to say I'm sorry, or their parent. So it is hard, right? It's hard to accept forgiveness when you don't think it's genuine. Someone else said that one time they stole from someone, and they were scared to go back and tell them what they did. So they were carrying that burden. Let's see, someone wrote, I'll tell you, this was a younger kid. A time where I had broke a friend's Lego set and I thought I would be dead. But he forgave me. So one person said, here's an example of you might do something not realizing it wasn't kind. Now, I bet you this has happened to many of us. This person said, there was a time where I told a joke to one of my friends and I didn't know that they were sensitive about that topic. And when I realized that I probably said something wrong, I apologized and I was really anxious about what my friend would say. To my surprise, my friends just laughed and joked that she'll not be friends with me anymore. So I think that was sarcasm. And it felt really relaxed and happy when I finally knew that they accepted my apology. Other people talked about holding on to something they did wrong and finally having to go back and admit to the person, in one case it was a grandparent, that they had broken something that they weren't supposed to be touching. So we could go on and on and on. The list goes on. And just like you're telling your stories to me in that Google form, maybe to others in your friend group, the Bible, whether it's the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Quran, many, many religious texts share stories. They share parables about forgiveness. So has anyone heard of the story of Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat? Anybody? Okay. For those of you that are musical theater people, you know there was a Broadway show made out of the story. I'm not going to get into the whole story, but it's a story from the Bible that was turned into a musical, if you can believe it. And the idea behind it is that Joseph had he was one of, how many brothers? 12 brothers. I'm checking with my fact checker, Mr. Finnegan. One of 12 brothers. He had special gifts to be able to interpret people's dreams, right? So he was treated special by his dad, and all the other brothers were jealous, which we tend to do, right, when someone gets all the attention. They sold him into slavery. I mean, they really were mean to their brother. Their brother ended up a slave. However, he was a slave to someone who was very powerful and recognized that he had this special gift, so raised him to notoriety, and he became important. Years later, the 11 brothers, being caught in a terrible famine and they desperately needed food, groveled back to their brother, who was now powerful, and asked if he would just pardon them and give them food. If you were that brother, Joseph, would you forgive that? Your brother sold you into slavery. Oh my God, that's horrible. But he forgave them. There was another story I read, a story from Islam, where I'm not going to get all the details right. I don't want to read it because it's very long. Where two people are walking in the village, and one person is like a commander-in-chief, and he happened to be bald. And another villager thought it was funny, so he slapped him on the head. How many of you ever slapped your friend on the back of the head? Come on. You're not supposed to do it, but you have. So guess what? That happened thousands of years ago too. And but the guy didn't know that it was an important commander-in-chief. He panicked. You don't have to now demonstrate slapping him. He panicked and was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I just did that. It would be like accidentally doing that to Mr. Williams, right? Can you imagine? What you're due, and then one of the kids says, you just did that to the headmaster. So this guy comes running back, trying to figure out how he's going to ask for forgiveness, and this important bald-headed commander-in-chief was already in the temple praying for forgiveness of the man who did it to him. He was one step ahead of him. So there are story after story after story in all of these religious texts. And one that I just love, and that's why we ended with it, it says, someone asked Jesus, how many times should I forgive my brother? Does anyone remember how many times he said it? 7 times 77, or what was the exact number? I should know it, but I don't. Someone find that number for me in your last reading. Yeah. So we know that if you do the math, that's a lot of times. Okay? Forgiveness is important. Forgiveness is important. Now, what gets in the way? Let me see if anyone can share your thoughts. What gets in the way of asking for an apology? Let's start with that. You've done something wrong. You want to ask for an apology. Ryan, what gets in the way? You feel guilty. What else? Trent. Say it again. Being nervous. You're nervous to go up to someone and apologize. What else, Ace? You're afraid they'll get mad at you. So fear, nervousness, anxiety. Embarrassment. You feel ashamed that you did this thing and now you have to say it out loud again. Now let's talk about the flip side. Someone comes to you to ask you for forgiveness. Have you ever had a hard time saying, I accept your apology? I have. In full honesty here. So what gets in the way of us accepting someone's apology? Who wants to share what gets in the way of you accepting their apology? What do you think? Depending on what they did, it could be a really big thing. Any other thoughts? Your feelings inside? So maybe you're still hurt about it? Yeah? Has anyone ever just felt plain old stubborn? No, I'm not going to accept his apology, right? Yeah. Pride. You're too proud to accept their apology. I'm better than you. I'm going to let you hang on to that guilt just a little longer, right? I'm too proud. But those feelings weigh us down. Those are not feelings that I don't think any of us would want to walk around with. So to demonstrate this, Holden and Jackson, my two willing advisees, would you guys come on up with your backpacks? But you got to wear them, boys. Wear them on both shoulders. All right, I asked Holden and Jackson to be my guinea pigs here. How do your shoulders feel right now? Heavy. Oh, he's fine. He's enough, but that's you. They're heavy. Right now, they have backpacks filled with rocks. Rocks. Okay, my family thought I was crazy as I collected rocks for my yard today. Their bags are filled with heavy rocks. I asked Holden and Jackson to wear these backpacks throughout chapel. I filled them with rocks. Okay? So, turn around, face that way. Keep your backpacks on. I'm going to unzip them here. So, wrong one. Is it in the halfway one? All right, you open the one that's backpacks have way too many zippers. All right. Oh man, this is a heavy one. Oh my God. Okay. So I asked Jackson for forgiveness about something I did to him that he's been holding on to the grudge for, and he says, I accept your apology. One rock out of his backpack. Maybe Jackson asks me for forgiveness about something he did, although there's nothing he's ever done that he's upset me about. But there's another big one. It was a big rock. All right. Maybe Holden's been carrying on to some grudges. Holden, how many siblings do you have? A lot of siblings. Here's for one of them. Here's for another one. Here's for another one. There are a lot of rocks that we carry around, okay? Can I have a couple helpers? Let's go Ellis and Kaito. Can you help take the rocks out of these backpacks for me very gently and put them in a pile on the floor here? So Kaito, take his out right here. And I want you to put his rocks right here, Ellis. Really gently, okay? Right here. Just very gently, because we have a nice towel for it, we don't want to. You're carrying around extra weight that you don't need to carry around. Life can be beautiful if we cannot have all that extra burden that we're carrying around. And I'm here for the four of them. Thank you for being here. Now, sometimes one of these rocks, the only one that can take it out of your bag is you, because you're holding onto something against yourself. Has anyone, and you don't even have to raise your hand for this, but think about it, have you ever had a hard time forgiving yourself for something you did? So you've asked someone for forgiveness, they've already forgiven you, and you're still like, oh, I'm such a bad person, why did I do that? Right? Maybe you feel shame. It's okay to let go of the rock. Take the rock out of your bag. We can move on. We can move on. We feel a sense of freedom when we take that rock out of our backpack. So I'm a music teacher, not an art teacher. So here's my attempt at a rock. Isn't it lovely? So I made little rocks. So this week, these rocks are going to be by the Wolfie head in the library. Okay? And there are going to be some pens and pencils there. If you feel like it, if you can think of something that you're wanting to let go of. Maybe you've already done the apology, but you still want to write it down for yourself so you can truly be done. Something you want to forgive someone for, something you want to forgive yourself for, something you want to ask for forgiveness for. Write it down, even if it's just a code word that only you will understand, right? So that one kid could have just wrote Legos and folded it up. We're going to put it in our Wolfie head, and in a couple weeks, right after Fall Family Weekend, we're going to have a big bonfire outside Mr. Williams' house, and we're going to burn them all, okay? We're going to let them all go. And we'll talk about how you can sign up to be part of the bonfire. But, so just so you know, in the library, when you first walk in, you're going to see Wolfie, and you're going to see a pile of paper rocks, and that is what that's about, okay? So please consider this part of your kindness project. Being kind to someone is showing them compassion, which means releasing them of their burden of what they're worried about and what they're asking for forgiveness from. All right. With that said, we're going to sing. Tripp has shared a song with me now for a couple months that we wanted to do. And the teachers, the howlers, we could come on up and help with this. This is a song called Speak Life, and the lyrics are in your leaflet. One part of the lyrics are in your leaflet. So when you get to the part that says speak life, try to sing along if you get how it goes. Sorry. Sing it. Tripp and I are going to take over the first part, and when you hear "Speak Life" is when you come in.
Fussing and fighting.
stockholders